All right, good evening. We're in Mark 16. Today's day 86 of our reading. So we've already prayed this evening. As you know, we're doing some catch-up days. So I'm not going to pray again. We're just going to dive right into Mark 16 to try to get this completed tonight. So Mark 16, verse 1. Again, we're going through the Synoptic Gospels, which is telling us pretty much the same event, just through different lenses. Matthew was one of the 12. Mark, of course, writes. Many people think that he writes based on the interviews with the Apostle Peter. And there may have been other apostles as well, but Mark is not one of the original 12. So when Mark speaks, he speaks a little differently, and thus we're going to see a little bit of a different ending in Mark's gospel than Matthew's. But let's dive right into verse number 1. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James. Okay, let's pause there for just a minute, because we just read Matthew 28, where it just called her the other Mary. So I'm going to tie this to here in Mark 16 and verse 1, just so we can have that. We already put something else, but the other Mary is identified in Mark 16 and 1. I think it's just identified a little more clearly there, so I wanted to put that little marker there back in Matthew 28, verse 1. Okay, so Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome had brought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. So they have come, these women, again, notice it's just the women that have come. Now I want to address this really quickly, because some people look at this and say that this is a contradiction, right? Because let's go back to Matthew 28 for a minute, because Matthew 28 says that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the sepulchre. Here it says Mary Magdalene, Mary, and Salome went to the sepulchre. So one says that one highlights two women going, the other highlights three. And people say that this is a contradiction. It's not a contradiction. If I said that, as some of you may know, my cousin Matthew lives with me right now. And let's say that I were to say, Haley and I went to the store last night. I was telling the story to somebody. And so I say, Haley and I went to the store last night. But unbeknownst to that person, Matthew was also with me. But the next time I tell that story, I say, last night Haley, Matthew, and I went to the store. Well, which one is true? Both are true. Haley and I did go to the store, and Haley, Matthew, and I did go to the store. This is not a contradiction. If I said, I went with Haley alone to the store, and then I said Haley, Matthew, and I went to the store, that would be a contradiction. But that's not what we have here. We just have different details given, right? Different details given in a story does not invalidate the details given in a story, right? So just because Matthew highlights two of the women, but Mark highlights three of the women, doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. It's just different details of the same story, right? The end result would be that nobody would question whether or not we went to the store, right? That's what we can be assured of, right? That's the one thing that can be sure, is that we went to the store. And so when it talks about Jesus rising from the dead and the women that were there, the detail to get caught up on is not who was there. The detail to get caught up on is that he rose from the dead. Right? Let's keep going. So they came, why? To anoint him. Verse 2. And very early in the morning, verse 2, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun. Notice here, Mark makes it clear that when they get there, it is the first day of the week. Matthew talks about their journey beginning at the transition between the seventh day of the week and the first day of the week. But Mark makes it clear that very early in the morning, the first day of the week, right? This is why we worship on Sundays. What does that have to do with anything? We worship on Sundays because that is when the Lord rose. It's also when the apostles worshipped as well. And they said among themselves, who shall roll away the stone from the door of the sepulchre? And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away. Do you ever wonder why was the stone rolled away? Like, why was that necessary? We see later that Jesus is walking into rooms that have locked doors, right? So why would he need, and I say that because the assumption there is that he walked through the walls, right? The text doesn't explicitly say that, but that's what we can draw from it. So my question is, why did the stone need to be rolled away? Well, the stone didn't need to be rolled away so Jesus could get out. The stone needed to be rolled away so we could go in, right? So that Mary and Mary and Salome and the different women and the disciples later on, so that they could go and see that he is not there. He is risen, right? So when you think about the stone being rolled away, don't think about it so Jesus could get out. He could get out regardless. But the stone was rolled away so that we could come in and see, right? Verse 5. And entering into the sepulchre, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were affrighted. And he saith unto them, Be not affrighted. Ye seek Jesus of Nazareth, which was crucified. He is risen. He is not here. Behold the place where they laid him. But go your way, tell his disciples and Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him, as he said unto you. I love that he says, tell his disciples and Peter. I love that. Why? Because the last time we saw Peter wasn't exactly the most flattering moment, right? Peter had boasted of himself that he would go with Jesus to the death. Peter had failed the Lord. He had denied him 3 times, right? But I love the portion, I think it's in Luke 22. See if I can find it. Oh, goodness. Yeah, Luke 22:31. Let's see if we can find it real quick. Yeah, Jesus says, Simon, Simon, which is Peter, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. Luke 22:32. Right? Jesus had prayed for Peter. And he was not going to abandon Peter in his failure, right? You may feel like you failed the Lord. You may feel like you've done too much. You may feel like you've denied him. You may feel like you've not lived obediently to him. Neither did Peter, but God was not through with Peter. I love that the angel, I've never noticed this before until just now. He says, tell his disciples, right? And Peter, to include Peter in that God's not done with Peter. Jesus prayed for Peter, so God was not done with him. Right? I love that. He says, go tell his disciples and Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee. There you shall ye see him, and as he said unto you. And they went out quickly and fled from the sepulchre, for they trembled and were amazed. We saw this in the last time, that they were feared, but they were full of joy. Neither said they anything to any man, for they were afraid. So there was a time where they're trembling and they're fearful, right? But look at verse 9. Now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not. Right? They didn't believe it. But verse 12, after that he appeared in another form unto 2 of them as they walked and went into the country. This is, I think it's talked about in Luke 24. We'll read that tomorrow. And they went and told it unto the residue, neither believed they them. So you have all these people there keep telling them all the truth, but they don't believe them. Verse 14, afterward he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart. What does it mean to upbraid? To judge them. To be like, how can you guys not believe? Why? Because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. And he said unto them, go ye into all the world, and preach the gospel to every creature. So in Matthew 28:19 and 20, we have Matthew's version of the Great Commission. This is Mark's version of the Great Commission. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Right? He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. A lot of people misunderstand this when it's so clear in the text. Jesus says, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. And a lot of people say, see, you got to be baptized to be saved. But he makes it clear, he that believeth not shall be damned. It's not the not being baptized that causes someone to be damned. It's not believing that causes someone to be damned, right? So we're saved because we believe. And we're baptized because we've been saved and we've believed, right? It's not that we get baptized so we can be saved. We get baptized because we've been saved, right? He that believeth not shall be damned, not he that is not baptized, right? So that verse answers that question in itself. Verse 17, and these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Friend, these are promises. And the Bible tells us that his promises are yea and amen. That he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. That his promises don't change. He doesn't change, right? We have this same authority today if we will exercise the same kind of faith that they had, right? Now notice, this doesn't mean that we need to go picking up serpents, that we need to go drinking deadly things, right? It says, if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. That people that say, okay, so you believe this is a promise for the church, and why don't you go drink poison? Well, to that person, I would say you're arguing just like Satan argued, right? Remember in the garden remember in the wilderness when, in Luke chapter 4, when Satan is tempting Jesus, he says, throw yourself off, and the angels will catch you. They'll take charge over you. And Jesus says, it's written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. We never see the disciples going out and purposely handling snakes. We see Paul being bitten by a snake and he grabs it, right? But Paul didn't go out looking for snakes. There's a difference there, right? They didn't go out saying, watch what I'm going to drink and I won't die. That's not what happened, right? So just because these promises are there does not mean we need to tempt God. These are promises of protection, not reasons to tempt the Lord. Verse 19, so then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God. Verse 20, and they went forth and preached everywhere. I love this so much. The Lord working with them and confirming the word with signs following. Friend, this is what the church of God needs today. The church of God needs the Lord working with them. The Lord working with us, right? And confirming the word with signs following. I was in revival a few weeks ago, and I had preached a strong sermon. And the pastor testified later that he had prayed during the altar call. And he said, Lord, if this sermon is really from you, confirm it. Confirm it in this altar service. And we had a powerful move of God.